Abraham Lincoln.
Good evening. It is 6:30 on Thursday, September 12th, 2024. I'm calling to order the Fraser City Council regular meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Bransky. Absent. Mayor Lesich.
Here.
Councilmember Odell.
Here.
Councilmember Perry.
Here.
Councilmember Shornack.
Present.
Councilmember Stein.
Here.
Councilmember Sutherland.
Present.
That is a quorum.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilmember Bransky.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland, second by Councilmember Shornack to excuse Ms. Baranski due to her being out of town. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, member is excused. Item number 4, approval of agenda. Any changes, additions, deletions to the agenda that anyone would like to see? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as is.
Just the agenda. Just the agenda.
I'm sorry. Consent agenda.
Thank you. You consent to the agenda, but not the consent agenda. All right, motion by Councilmember Shornack, second by Councilmember Stein to approve the agenda of Thursday, September 12th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, item number 5, citizen participation on agenda items. This is the portion of the meeting where we have citizen participation on agenda items only. So if it's on this agenda, this is the time, and you can't be here for that particular item, this is the time you get to come up and talk about it. Anyone in the audience would like to speak on a agenda item at this time? All right, seeing none, I will move on to item number 6, consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland, second by Councilmember Odell to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion or consent agenda is approved. Item number 7, new business. A presentation of credit union grant for gas sensor. I believe Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union is here. Please come on up. And Ms. Levin, can you explain why they are here with this large, apparently a check or something?
Well, this is a pretty exciting grant, and really it's from public safety. They're the ones that reached out for it. I think giving credit to them is pretty fortunate for us to be able to get this grant for a gas sensor. Is that correct? It is.
Do we have a microphone handy? I'm sorry. Do we have the? Ed. Let's just take a second, so we can.
You're stuck with this one.
Oh, come on, Ed.
No, I just think it'd be good to hear everybody for.
And you can face it this way if you like. Generally what we do is we have it up here and then present it this way to the public.
I was just going to say that the credit union is very generous, and they give grant money like this and scholarship money regularly to police academies, fire academies, departments of public safety. So they're very much involved in the community. They do a lot in the way of their philanthropy. So when they reached out to us, Captain Gillis was great about receiving the call and talked to our fire personnel and said, hey, what is it that you think that we need the most with this money that they're generously giving us? And the consensus from the people that do the work out in the field was that we would like this gas meter. So this will cover the cost of the gas meter, and it's a new tool that the firefighters can use out in the field. And so we're extremely thankful for this opportunity to receive the gift from the credit union. Captain Gillis?
Tell us what this does.
What does it do?
What does a gas sensor do? I mean, it sounds obvious, but
Right now, we
I'd be
currently
wrong.
use a 4-gas meter that we'll use on carbon monoxide calls. This meter is going to be used to measure propane, methane, and other gases that this 4-gas meter doesn't detect. So it gives them a wider variety of gases and hazards they can detect inside of a residence.
Great. Thank you very much. Anything you would like to say on behalf of Michigan government?
No, we're very happy to give to the organization, and this was really nice that we could do it here in this setting, so I appreciate it. And we're happy to help. So, we're down the road if you need us. Yes.
Can we get a picture? Can you come back here and have the council get in the picture?
Is it okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll allow
We
it.
don't.
Yes, come on.
It's okay if we, why do you guys like pictures so much? God,
This is so they see that we
they don't need
appreciate.
us, they need the cops.
Are you in?
There you go.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it.
Our officers really appreciate it and residents.
Yes,
Yes.
it will be used wisely. All right,
Not too often.
item number 7B, Historical Commission appointments. Ms. Levin?
We have got several commission appointments tonight for Historical Commission. We have reappointment of Marilyn Wright and Marty Van,
That's what I.
and I.
I'm sure somebody here can pronounce it.
Yes, that's with terms ending June 30th, 2028. There was one more.
Yeah, there's
Mackenzie
one.
Lenk.
Mackenzie. But that one's separate, so.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a
you'll make two motions?
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, Councilmember Shornack.
I would like to make a motion to reappoint Marilyn Wright and Marty. We're just gonna put it as Marty because pronouncing her whole name is just like really crazy. I make a motion to appoint Marilyn Wright and Marty. Again, she knows that her last name is a hot mess, so we're not gonna do that. But anyway, both of them, Marilyn's been on the commission for a really long time. Marty's been a great addition, and because her husband Tom is on there as well, and they do a lot of work, and they're very involved. And now that they retired, well, one of them retired at least, they're very, very involved, which is great because they're giving a lot of new life to the commission, so. I'll second that.
Okay. Comments from the council? I would like to say thank you to Marilyn and Marty. I see you all over the place, and you're dedicated volunteers. I really appreciated the long application or resume. Told me a great story about what you do. So anybody in the audience like to speak on this motion? Seeing none, I would, all in favor of reappointment of Marilyn Wright and Marty Iwanicki to the Historical Commission with terms ending June 30th, 2028, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Welcome back. All right.
Right, and
And then an appointment.
After
oh,
that, we've got an appointment of a new person to fill a term ending June 30th, 2026, and that is Mackenzie Lenk.
And I would like to appoint Mackenzie Link to the Historical Commission. She definitely is a ball of energy and it's going to be really great for the commission. So she's got a lot of great ideas too that's going to help, kind of, put it into the 21st century. So I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Shornack, seconded by Councilmember Stein to appoint Mackenzie Link to fill a vacant position on the Historical Commission, with term ending June 30th, 2026. Any comment from council? Okay. Anybody in the audience? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Mackenzie. Welcome to the Historical Commission. Thank you very much for your service. All right. Item number 7C, Macomb FAC TIP application resolution. Who would like to speak on this?
I'll start, I guess. The Macomb Federal Aid Committee is issuing its call for projects for the federal fiscal years 2027 through 2029. Our streets subcommittee met and discussed all of the potential road options for this. Obviously, these are only federal aid eligible roads. This isn't any type of local streets, subdivision streets, anything like that. So the projects that we selected as a group is Utica Road from 13 Mile to 14 Mile, 14 Mile from Utica to Kelly, and Mulvey Road from 14 Mile to Garfield. Now, these are just applications that we put in for the federal aid funding. It's not a guarantee that we will get approved for any of these projects. And as I said, it is for fiscal years 2027 through 2029. So this is a little ways down the line, but we need to at least plan and be prepared.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about these projects? Potential projects, I guess, Mr. Vigneron.
Sure, so we would be looking at rehabilitation projects for all three of these roads. 14-Mile Road in particular would be changed from a concrete road to an asphalt surface roadway, pretty similar to what was done recently on Utica Road north of 14-Mile Road and 13-Mile Road. It would be a heavy rehabilitation where they'd mill out some of the concrete in between the curb and gutter, and new asphalt would be put in its place. The intersections would be reconstructed, so the Garfield Road and 14-Mile Road intersection would be completely reconstructed as part of this. And this is part of the county's corridor plan. They look at corridors, so 14-Mile Road has had some work to the east, it's had some work to the west, and this would kind of be the last segment of 14-Mile Road. This application scored pretty highly in the Phase 1 round and is likely to get funded. Utica Road, a similar rehabilitation method. We'd resurface that roadway, probably new curb and gutter where needed. We've talked to the county about some possible operational improvements at Masonic, so trying to improve the traffic flow in that area. That'll be investigated as part of the project, but at this time, there's no commitments on being able to improve that. Mulvey Road, also, this is the one city road. All non-federal costs would be the sole share of the city for this particular project. And we would be resurfacing from 14-Mile Road all the way to Garfield Road. This is a segment that we were targeting for a shared use path along Mulvey as well, with the idea that we might put another application for federal aid for that shared use path and potentially combine those two projects into 1 year. So this is a future year for that application.
So like the shared use path would be something like a TAP grant, transportation alternative?
Correct. Yeah, that would be a separate application from any of these projects.
Councilmember Shornack.
So I know I'm not going to like the answer to this question, but 14-Mile, of course, the concrete, and in general, it's not in bad shape. It's just parts, right? And maybe I'm wrong, but isn't concrete better than asphalt?
For some things. For other things, asphalt works perfectly fine. It's kind of the life cycle of a road, so new concrete roads are put in. At some point, they need to be rehabilitated. Sometimes you can do that with concrete patches. Other times, it's gotten kind of beyond that, and I think a lot of the defects in 14-Mile Road have kind of gotten to the point where it doesn't.
No, I know that, but the majority of it, I mean, I drive it every single day, back and forth to work, like a gazillion times. So my point is, there are plenty of slabs that are in perfect shape. And there are there'll be like 2 that need to be replaced. Wouldn't that be more cost efficient to replace the 2 concrete slabs instead of milling the whole entire road down and putting asphalt down?
It could be. I think in discussions with the county, they felt it was beyond that. It does have a pretty low PASER score to the point where that type of a preventative maintenance it's kind of past the cost-effective point for that.
Okay, wait a minute. So that one has a low PASER score? What does Kelly have?
Oh, Kelly had the worst. It was terrible.
No, not the part they fixed. The part that we did not, well, actually years fly by. So I'm going to say, what, was it a decade ago? When we did 13 to 14? And when was that? Do you know roughly?
20-some years ago.
Was it 20 years ago? Okay, but that's worse than 14-Mile. As far as like the seams and everything all cracked and broke and blah, blah, blah. Seriously, do they drive the roads that they decide they're going to do these projects on? I'm just curious.
They do.
Yeah.
Mr. Vigneron.
Okay.
Is Kelly a federal?
Kelly is federally eligible.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I guess so. We just did the northern part of that.
Mm-hmm. So that was my question.
Yeah, and these are what, at least 2 years out, 2 to 5 years out, so.
Correct.
They're looking at long-term.
I just don't understand why we don't have a maintenance program that fixes the problems before they get out of hand and the PASER rating becomes horrible.
There are separate funding sources. They don't have the federal aid element, so if that was something the city wanted to pursue, the county has called for projects for locally funded projects every year. And that could be a consideration for next year, where the city would participate in something on, Kelly Road or another road, county road in the city, to take care of those defects before they get to be. of
Well, I was just
nature
using that as an example, but my whole problem is this, that as an institution, our government, in whatever phase it's in, it doesn't matter if it's local, county, state, federal, I don't care. They're not looking at this in an intelligent way. I realize that we don't want every single, although they don't seem to care about that either, every single street to be orange barreled. But if you can do preventative maintenance as you're moving forward, the cost savings on that alone would be billions of dollars, I have to think, in roads, instead of let's wait 10, 20 years and go, oh, okay, well, now let's just go down to asphalt and then spend, $6 million, $7 million, $8 million, whatever it's going to cost. I just don't understand why no one's thinking like that. I mean, you probably don't have an answer. It's more probably rhetorical. It's just very frustrating because I see it's just a big waste of money.
The industry has learned a lot about life cycle, pavement management over the last decade. We're implementing it where we can. Funding is limited in all cases, and there's a lot of.
Well, yeah, that part, like I said, I know it's rhetorical. You don't control it. I'm just simply saying it's kind of dumb that this is the way we manage our things and we don't really get a choice in it. It's just like, oh, well, we'll just pick a road. And, oh, we're going to, it just doesn't make sense to me the way they do things. And of course, they don't ever ask our opinion in the sense of the surrounding communities that pay into that taxes for those particular things. It's just frustrating. That was all. Thank you. Sorry. I know you don't control it.
Other comments from council? I attended my first meeting of the Transportation Coordinating Council for SEMCOG today. I'm now the new vice chair, my first meeting, and I'm the vice chair. So I was surprised by the amount of inflation in construction materials. There was one bridge project that we approved that went from $8 million to $10 million in 1 year, and that was an amendment. So we're seeing that all over, and you won't like next year because this is the last year of Governor Whitmer's bond that we're putting $400 million into the state. Next year it's $100 million or less, and it's not. So we're about to go off a funding cliff with state money, so things aren't going to get better by themselves. Anybody in the audience would like to speak on this matter? All right, seeing none, I need a motion to approve I don't have the second.
Be the resolution of commitment and support for the program.
Okay. Councilmember Odell.
Yeah, I'll make the motion, pass the resolution of commitment and support for the Macomb County Federal Aid Committee Transportation Improvement Program as presented.
Second. Any member of the audience like to speak? I apologize, I did that out of order. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. You have your resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 7D, Mr. Vigneron again, Linden Pump Station Abandonment Study. City Manager, would you like to intro that?
I think I am going to hand it over to Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. A number of years ago, the city utilized SAW grant funding to begin investigating what we commonly call the Linden Pump Station, which is the little wooden shed next to the Dairy Maid. It's a stormwater pump station in the city that had failed at one point, and there was some local street flooding. The city records were not great. There was a lot of unknowns as we started digging into it and presented our findings to the city. Several years ago, it was discovered that there were sewers that run under existing houses. And there still isn't a funding mechanism in place to address the situation. As Mr. Barrett has been onboarded and we started reviewing some of these items, this came to him as a major concern and something that we need to have a plan for to address in short order. So what we're proposing is just a study at this time to determine what is feasible to do and about how much it's going to cost. Once we're complete with that study, we would come back to City Council next year with a potential capital project to be budgeted either this year or in the coming year or in a future year. We do have a decent amount of information already on this. This is just kind of taking the next steps to figure out where we can take this stormwater without causing downstream negative effects. And then abandoning the sewers that are underneath the houses. So I think in your packet, you have a map of the routing that we know currently today, and you can see where it does run under several houses.
And those houses were not built in the last 20 years. They were built like, so these sewers are pretty old.
They are, and even some of the maps that we had found, and we were researching this in 2018, there were several different lines with question marks and no dates. It took some smoke testing investigation and CCTV. One of the runs, the camera ran out of cable length before we got to the end of the sewer, and I just don't know where it ends. So a lot of that's going to get clarified as part of the study. All of it will. Several options will be presented to city administration with our recommendation for probably the most cost-effective option to address the situation.
And the likely option is to replace these sewers and tie these into the new sewer line.
Correct, yes. Yeah, there are several outlets available nearby. We just have to make sure that there's capacity in those sewers for this extra stormwater. And if not, then find out where we need to take it.
Okay, would that still be in our, did I read right something about our drainage district or maybe a different drainage?
Yeah, so currently it goes to a drainage district. If we take the water out of that district and put it in a different drainage district, we just have to make sure there's the capacity for that.
And just to make it clear, with the risk is that if one of these sewers fail, we could have a sinkhole.
Correct.
And we don't want a second.
No, we don't.
Okay. Any questions from council?
Do these people not have basements? How did they not know that these sewer lines were under their homes?
I think in most cases they don't. They're slabs on houses. Some of the buildings, the sewer's relatively deep. I mean, it's deep, but they're, I believe they're all on slab or crawl spaces.
Okay. All right. I'll just go ahead and make it. Motion to approve the engineering services for the Linden Pump Station abandonment feasibility study with AEW in the amount of $30,500 and authorize the city manager discretion to approve up to $7,500 in additional field services as discussed in the AEW proposal.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lessig, seconded by Councilmember Odell. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, you're here again. Item 7E, 2025 Sewer Rehabilitation Engineering Proposal.
Thank you again. So this is the next year of the rehabilitation cycle for the sanitary sewer. The city went through a 4-year period of investigating all of the sewers in the city. After that, we had compiled all the necessary recommended repairs for rehabilitation. The first 2 years of the program, we checked off all the critical and high priority repairs, which we typically define as critical, needs to be repaired within 5 years, high priority 5 to 10 years. We typically look at it like an 8-year cycle, so we try and hit all of those high priority repairs within the cycle from when they're identified. City has again budgeted $500,000 for this program. If you'll recall, the previous 2 years were awarded via piggybacking contract, and at this point, the contract we had been working with is no longer interested in those terms, so we'll have to put this out to bid. We have a lot of the data together. This is just a matter of putting the bid package together and putting the proposal out to bid. Once bids are received, we'll have a recommendation to council for award of a contract.
Okay, and you've identified most of the areas for rehabilitation?
They're already identified. We've got the listings and the locations. It's just a matter of putting the documents together for that.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Bighorn? Entertain a motion for this? Councilmember Odell.
Make a motion to approve the engineering services for 2025 sanitary sewer CIPP lining program with AEW in the amount of $7,500.
It's actually 30,000.
So that was prior one.
Oh, that was a prior one. I'm sorry. All right. I'll second.
Me.
Mayor, okay. Motion by Councilmember Odell, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland. Any comments by council before we take it to the audience? All right, any member of the audience like to talk on this? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, 7F. You stick around, Mr. Vigneron, we need you for later. Good evening, Director. Good evening,
Good evening. Mayor, council, thank you.
All right, we're doing item 7F, fire gear purchase.
Correct. During the budget process, we had made presentations about a great number of things that we were going to be looking to either add to our public safety department or items that needed to be replaced due to wear and age. And so we're before you tonight to request fire protection gear. It's the turnout gear that firefighters wear anytime they're in a hazardous situation, fires and structure fires and things like that. And this is the common fire gear that you see firefighters wearing when they're conducting their duties. The turnout gear that the department has was purchased mostly in 2014. There were some sets that were purchased in 2013. And the shelf life on those items by NFPA standards, which is the firefighting standard for many of the rules and protocols in place for firefighting operations, is that the life of that gear is 10 years. It actually says not to exceed 10 years. So almost all of the turnout gear that the department is using today will expire in November of this year, since November is the 10-year mark. So we're before you now in hopes that we can order this gear and get it in place for our firefighters before the expiration date. There are several things that were taken into consideration when doing the research for this gear. Captain Gillis put a great deal of time and effort into this. We do have 3 bids that are before you, but there were certain things that we were looking for in regards to the standard or the level of gear that we wanted our officers to have. And those relate to the outer portion of the garment and what it's rated for thermal protection against fire itself, heat, abrasion, wear and tear on the outer side, and again, the inner lining. And the lining, there's different levels of lining, and it basically, the determination of the lining has to do with breathability and how much the person is able to sweat and have that removed from their body to further protect them from the extreme heat that they're facing. So with those 2 things in mind, Captain Gillis reached out to several companies and had them come in and looked at their gear, got the ratings for the external part of the gear as well as the internal part of the gear. All 3 of these quotes meet the standard that we expect and are part of the NFPA standard. And with that, we are asking for a particular brand. Now, most of these, when we did the budget presentation, we relayed to council that most of this gear, there's a range of cost depending on what it is that you're going to get, and that would be between $3,000 and $5,000 per set. The gear that we're requesting is just over $3,000 per set, so it is still on the lesser side of what we presented to council then, but we still feel like this is a high level of protection for the officers. I could get into the particulars of all the gear if you'd like. We have 24 sets that are due to expire in November. Since then, and that was part of the budget presentation, we've added several more paid-on calls, and we anticipate hiring 1 more paramedic and 2 more EMTs. So this request is for 30 sets, not 24, because of those additional personnel that are now working here. Additionally, the council had already approved for us to buy many sets of fire boots, and with this and the addition of the new people, We will also be requesting an additional 7 sets of fire boots and sticking with the global boots that we bought the first time. An additional item that we have on here is a Nomex hood. It's a hood that goes over the firefighter's head. It covers their hair, the back of their neck, the front of their neck. The helmet goes on top of that and the mask so that there is nothing exposed. And those also have a certain fire rating. The Nomex hoods that we're wearing now contain what is it, PFAS? PFAS, that's it, it's the letters. Which are carcinogenic to some degree. So, and those also have some wear and tear as it's an intimate item, it's touching your hair, your face, the back of your neck, sweat. And so those, it's not uncommon to have to replace those, not yearly necessarily, but those do wear. And so we would like to replace all the Nomex hoods with a safer product that's also heavily fire rated. So that is something in addition. So the request tonight is, there's the 3 quotes here, one from Conway Shield, which is the company that supplies the gear that we're utilizing now. We are requesting not to go with them. The gear has worked out fine, but it has shown signs of wear, as we would expect over 10 years, I suppose, but there's been issues with Velcro and stitching and things like that, so we would prefer to get away from that. And there was 2 other companies, but we are requesting to go with fire decks for the turnout gear. And so all of those estimates are there, the quotes are there, and between the lowest amount and the highest amount, like I said, is maybe a difference of about $300, give or take.
And you did get a grant, too.
I'm sorry?
You got a grant as well.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, so the state of Michigan was offering a grant for turnout gear to all the fire departments in the state, and we did submit our name for that. They authorized and it's a replacement, we would be reimbursed. And they did give us a grant for a few of those sets. They would only cover the sets that pertain strictly to firefighters, not PSOs. So that's why it's not what we hoped it would be, but it's not zero. So it is offsetting the cost by a little over $16,000. So we are requesting to buy 30 sets of turnout gear, 7 sets of boots, and 50 Nomex hoods.
Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland.
I thought that Pat was.
Well, I'm going to.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 30 sets of Fire Decks firefighter structural turnout gear, 7 pair of Globe Supreme 14-inch boots, and 50 Globe Guard firefighter hoods in the amount of $104,328 from account 101-301-972.000, Public Safety Capital Outlay.
You want to second that, Mr.?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
all right. Thank you. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland, seconded by Councilmember Perry to approve that purchase. Any council members like to speak on this? Yes, go ahead, Mr.
So you're buying a few more. They were cheaper on the end that you had for the budget. 3 to 5 is what you were estimating on the budget, correct, when you presented that to us for?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
I said that the cost of each outfit was.
Oh, it was 3,000.
You were estimating 3,000 to 5,000.
Yes, it was the range between 3,000 and
Okay.
5,000.
And then is the grant, is the 104,328, is that taking out the grant, or will it be less once we get that grant? Is that the amount with the grant included, or is that?
That's the amount with the reimbursement.
No, that's the total amount, and then once we make that purchase, then the state will.
So it'll actually be, closer to like around 90,000, give or take a little bit. Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions by council? Anyone in the audience like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, city manager, I'm sorry.
I would just like to say one quick
Yes,
thing.
please do.
It is amazing what they've been able to do putting together these numbers, because what we budgeted was 105,000, and that was just for the 30 turnout gears. So they're coming in far under that and getting more product.
Great. And it's good quality product, so
Yes,
that's
a
the
lot
main
of
thing.
vendors came in, and it was excellent product. We were very happy that they were able to give us examples, and we're very confident with the decision we made.
Great. Okay, we'll just take that vote one more time. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. You get your fire gear. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice job on that. Item 7G, backhoe purchase. Mr. Barrett? Turned itself off. Yeah.
I can begin. Good evening, Mayor and Council and City Manager. Before you is a agenda item to purchase a John Deere 320P backhoe. We discussed this at length during our process, and here is a slide from our But anyway, we had the John Deere backhoe. We budgeted $175,000 for it. In the original agenda item that's in front of you, we are seeking approval of $146,000 for the purchase of that. Since we submitted our agenda item, we took it a next step further and met with our key operators and Joe. And there was the rear bucket, well, actually, it's called the front bucket. It acts like a loader. There's a clamp device, which was like a $4,000 extra on that. We don't have a need for that. So we removed that from the quote. And also, it came with an extra, the back bucket was a larger size bucket, which is a 30-inch bucket, and we really only needed a 24-inch bucket. So if you go to the next slide, please. So we had, removing the one bucket, took off $5,500 or $600 off the list price, another $1,300 after the My Deal discount on the 24-inch bucket. $175,000 is budgeted for this item. We're proposing approval of $142,062.79 for the purchase of 2024 John Deere backhoe. That final price includes a $20,000 trade-in for the city's 2005 JCB backhoe.
Okay. The agenda item request is 146. Is there any shipping or anything that, I just want to make sure we get the right amount.
Revised to 142,062.79.
Okay. Any questions by council members? Councilmember Odell.
How much did you say you originally estimated the budget to be for that?
We budgeted and it was approved for $175,000.
So you came in quite a bit under budget for this, okay. I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of the 2024 John Deere 320P backhoe for $142,062.79.
Second.
Okay. All right. Any other council member comments at this time? This comes out of water fund? Water,
Yes.
half out of water and half out of sewer?
No, this is straight water and sewer fund.
All right. Any member of, yes.
I was going to say, in the recommended motion, there's additional language about participating in the My Deal cooperative pre-bid contract for the backhoe. So I want to rescind and make a new motion to include that as well.
Do we need to do that?
I'm-
Mr. Denault? Do we need to include the My Deal portion of it, or just approve the?
No, because we're doing it through a cooperative purchasing system, the ordinance allows us to just do it. We don't need a separate motion for that or an additional piece.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any member of the audience? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Aye. And opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Get your backhoe. Item number 7H, brush chipper purchase.
So again, during our budget sessions, we're relying on some of the legwork that my predecessor did, and we're asking for AX 19 Vermeer brush chipper in, around $150,000. Again, Joe and I brought the salesperson in and went through all the models and seen something that was the right fit and the right size for our community, that can fit where we need to get it and where we can use it and still be effective. If you go to the next slide. Sorry about the language on top of the chipper there, but that there is the AX-17 brush chipper. It's a model down, and the list price is $103,000, including $9,000 trade-in for our Mobark. Yes, our Mobark chipper. So the Department of Public Works is proposing approval of $103,000 for purchasing a 2024 Vermeer AX-17 chipper. The proposal includes a $9,000 trade-in credit for the 2003 Mobark brush chipper, which broke down today and is going to go back in the shop. Sorry, I got distracted there. Say a couple of interesting things on this is that this chipper, obviously is 20 years more advanced than our current chipper, and it has a winch system on the front where you could drag large pieces of trees or branches out of low areas or wet areas or where you can't get into the chipper. And you can't see it on this angle, but that red bar right there is a safety bar. If there's ever an accident or somebody going into a chipper, you have that red bar, and you have some straps on the inside you can pull. God forbid somebody gets dragged in there. But the new safety feature is on the back bumper is a red push bar, like an emergency push window. And if your thighs hit that, it shuts down the unit. Vermeer is very proud, and it's a large selling point on theirs, and they have not had a fatality since that safety feature.
All right, any questions? Entertain a motion? Councilmember Odell.
I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of the Vermeer AX-17 brush chipper for $103,000 as submitted to council.
Second it.
All right, and city manager.
I would once again like to commend Rob for working on really taking a look at this, talking to his team, finding out what we can do and be more budget conscious and really just only getting what we need. So thank you, Rob.
And it is what we need. It's going to do the job. Okay. Councilmember Shornack.
I just have a really quick question about that. Well, not even a question. No. So are we going to be able to now start the maintenance of the trees that are on the easements and stuff like that?
Interesting enough, we have a work order list where we go out and we target problem trees, and we've been struggling to keep up with that. Joe's been diligent with our crews, and they just completed our work order trees that are nuisances and went out into, what sub did they go today?
We went into the Venetian Village to start a tree trimming through the whole neighborhood. And
Through routine maintenance, and then they brought the chipper back in because it broke down.
No, I still want the chipper because I get
Yeah.
that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, so we are going to be able to, we have a plan to go do routine tree trimming.
Okay. So Elaine, did you check out the Charlie Brown tree that I told you about?
I saw the tree. It is very sad looking.
Thank you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, the person could have just cut it down. It's not a big tree, but that tree really just.
I brought it to Rob's attention and hopefully they'll be able
You
to.
saw the little tree? That's the eyesore from, it's literally got one live branch and the rest of it's dead, and it's like this big. Cut it down.
we moved it today.
Oh, did you? Thank you.
Before our chipper broke down, we were able to get to it, so.
Seriously, I don't know. If it was my tree, I would have already cut it down. It wasn't a big tree. I don't know why he left it sitting there dead with one living branch, but maybe he really thought it was a Charlie Brown tree. I don't know. But thank you guys for doing that, because that was so ugly. So that's good news. My neighbors will be happy because they've asked me like 4 times recently in the last month and a half.
Question. Money still comes half out of local streets and half out of major streets?
Yes.
Do we need to add that to the?
75,000 was budgeted in local and 75,000 was budgeted in major streets. And
Okay.
we are going to come in way under budget on this purchase.
Yay.
I heard that and I smiled. So you can do the necessary distributions. All right, any member of the audience like to speak on this? Come on up. Your name and address if you care to.
No, me, Mike, I don't need that.
Now, the public,
Greg Gruenberg, 17540 Wilhelmine. My question is this a unit that supplements something that was passed maybe a year or so ago, where they were all giddy about some device that mounted to the front of one of their pieces of equipment that was supposed to chew up a tree or something, and they said that they would be able to, other communities could use it. So I'm just wondering if this is something totally different than this other device?
I think he's speaking of the excavator attachment, or not the yeah, it was the excavator attachment. So you want to speak to that and just clarify that?
So I believe it's a little over a year ago, we bought a new excavator which had several attachments. On the excavator arm had a mulching mechanism that can eat trees in place. This piece of equipment is for a different activity. It's not taking down a tree that's in place, but it's actually, when you cut down a tree and you have a mess, or you got branches blowing around, or you're doing brush pickup, this piece of equipment we use for that.
It mulches essentially, right?
Well, in addition to that, my question is, on Fraser Avenue, going into my subdivision, they came by about a year ago and cut down an ash tree that had just sprigs coming up all over it. And it looked really great for a year. Now we got it right back all over again. Bad part about it is that it leans into the road. So everybody, instead of a 2-lane road, we have a 1.5-lane road. So I'm just.
On Fraser Avenue. yeah.
Fraser Avenue, south of 14 Mile Road. So I was just wondering, when they cut it down that last time, why didn't they just stump it out? So they didn't get all those sprigs growing back again. Thank you.
And if I may, we did budget for, our Public Works Department does not have a stumper. It'll be coming for you in October or November, so we get a stump.
Great.
Grinder. We are aware of probably over 50 trees have been cut down, and there's stumps out there right now.
Great. Be nice to clean that up. All right, so the motion was to purchase the Vermeer Ace X17 brush chipper in the amount of $103,000. Motion made by Councilmember Odell, seconded by Councilmember Stein. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Brush chipper purchased.
Thank you, guys.
Approved, thank you. All right, and this is item 8A, returning business industrial park road discussion. City manager.
All right, so we are back with the continuing discussion regarding the industrial park roads. At the last meeting, we had conversation, and I was directed to work with the finance director to first off, take a look at what the fund balances would potentially be at the end of this fiscal year for general fund, local streets, and major streets. And then also was directed to provide an updated Pazer map for those industrial roads. We do have that information provided to you. The finance director also put together an estimate of what she believed the city would be able to fund for the industrial park streets. She actually put together a couple of different scenarios, a lower range and a higher range. Based on all of her data and information that she put together, looking at being able to expend from city funds from 2.1 million up to 4.2 million, based on utilization from general fund and or possibly the major and local street fund. I think some of the next, so first off tonight, I would say that we need to really come up with a number based on the information that was provided, and then also talk about what our next steps are. We had talked at some point in time about having another meeting with the industrial park property owners. potentially a separate special meeting for that to talk about what our options are and what the city is able to do for paving those streets.
Okay. First of all, just to remind everyone, we have $4 million in state appropriated funds for this project. This would be funds in addition to that, a city contribution and so we would then be able to provide a kind of a budget scope for AEW and DPW to determine what are the possibilities of repairs. Am I paraphrasing that right, Mr. Vigneron, Mr. Barrett? Mr. Gregory, right? Okay. Because you guys are really the ones that are going to make this happen. So we had talked during the budget, and we knew that we needed to put some money. It's been talked about for quite a while. So I think Councilmember Shornack had discussed something in the $3 to $4 million range. So we want to make sure we're comfortable with that. We have a significant unassigned fund balance, and that means that's money that is not assigned to a particular project. And we have reserves of $5 million projected by the finance director, and that would be to maintain operations, pay bills, and things like that. So take the 12.5, take $5 million out of that, and then we have $7.5 million of money to allocate to other things. So just kind of laying that out there. Any thoughts? Councilmember Shornack, you started this discussion back
Yep.
many months ago or a year ago, long time ago, so.
Well, because the project will go over several of our budgets, I still think that the city can put in 4, plus the 4 that we're already getting from the state, possibly more federally, just maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll find out after the election, we'll put it that way. Anyway, so, I mean, I feel like we should get with the industrial park residents/owners and, see where we want to go with that, and see how we want to proceed. Do we want to proceed with, the Paiser rating and then fix the streets based off the Paiser ratings? Do we, I know you guys have an idea. I know you guys are involved, so.
Mike and Rob, can you come up here?
No, I think those guys too, because I like the.
Well, I want to talk to the
money guys
engineer
first?
and the DPW.
Okay, money guys first.
And I think my goal tonight, and just lay out, my goal was to come up with a number that they can start working with for planning purposes, and then figure out a timeline so we can do the things, the other part of it. Trying to get it all done in one meeting, I don't think is possible or practical. But I do want to make sure we give you clear direction on what this council's supporting.
However, Mr. Vigneron, I want to be very clear about this ahead of time. I don't want subpar work. I don't want issues coming back like the very next year when we do this. I want this to be something that is going to at least last 20 years. So we need to make sure it is sound for that kind of traffic, for that kind of weight, for all the particulars that go into that industrial area, because we have to figure out after we do some of this work and stuff like that, obviously moving forward, because we can't do it all, and they've waited 20-something years, so that we need to put that in our budgeting for every year as well. So we need to make sure that we're doing it the correct way. I know you know that, but I'm saying because we've had some issues, and I just really do not want to deal with any more road issues once we get things fixed. Please, and thank you.
All right. Mr. Vigneron and Mr. Barrett, you guys sent us a Paiser rating, and it was as I expected. It was actually surprising that we had 4s. It was 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. And 1 being the worst, and 4 being not quite as worse, but still
Pretty crappy.
heading towards failure. So 1 and 2 is failure, and 3 and 4 is poor.
Correct, yeah, generally, 1 and 2 are considered roads that require reconstruction, they're beyond their serviceable life, beyond rehabilitation. 3s and 4s generally can be considered for heavy rehabilitation. In a lot of cases, 3s and 4s are reconstructed. Given the traffic that is utilizing these roadways, we would not, as I think we've discussed previously, recommend a resurfacing or some sort of a heavy rehabilitation on here, just because we don't anticipate long-term success with that type of a treatment.
On the 3s and 4s?
Correct. Some of the roadways, again, with the subsequent Paiser rating, there are some segments of some of these roadways that are slightly better condition that could probably be patched with some selective slabs and reduce some of the presented costs previously significantly. I mean, that was based on just reconstructing all of the roadways. So I think, talking to Ms. Levin, we had talked about maybe, whatever number that is, coming in a little bit more surgically with some of the roads that are in better condition, just to kind of do that preventative maintenance as part of this, so all the roads are touched. We're not reconstructing every road, we're not reconstructing roads that are in okay shape that can be salvaged for another 10 or 15 years maybe until something else can be done there.
And I think to Councilmember Shornick's point, major rehabilitation on a 3 or 4 could lead to exactly the problems that she's talking about 10 years down the line. And I don't think anyone would like, I can just see 10 years down the line, we're going to just start kicking that can down the road again. And I'd rather get it right the first time. And so, Mayor, I think you had your light. Mayor Pro Tem.
My question is just about the water mains that are associated with that. So would this complete replacement include the water mains and/or sewers that need to be replaced? Because I want to say when we had a previous conversation about it, that was something that needed to be included.
Yeah, we did, in the previous estimates, include replacement of all the storm sewer that was underneath the roadway. As part of this, we did an analysis of the water mains that are under, or that are in that subdivision. Most of them are outside of the roadway, so we feel good about leaving those in place. If there are issues, those can be addressed relatively easily from Public Works. We did an assessment of the ages of all of those mains, the materials, and we don't necessarily feel that at this time it's 100% necessary or suggested to replace those. The oldest does date to 1966 and is a material that we would recommend replacing. So there could be some consideration made to replace some of these water mains at this time. Although, as we mentioned previously, they are outside of the roadway and generally in a location where if they do break, you can make repairs on them. And I think there is relatively little break history for the water mains in that industrial park.
Okay, so as you're going surgically through the industrial park, you'll be able to water mains outside of those concrete sections that you're going to replace?
Yes.
Okay.
And storm sewers, you're looking at replacing all of that?
Correct. Yeah, we did review the condition of the catch basins, and we have looked at the storm sewers that are under the road. They're of an age and material that we would suggest at this time, if you're going through and doing this level of work, you would replace those that are underneath the roadway.
Okay. And that if we needed water mainers, what about sanitary sewer? Is that?
Sanitary sewer, again, is part of the citywide rehabilitation program. We have TV'd the sewers relatively recently. If there were identified rehabilitation, lining that would have been done, it would have been prioritized and included in one of the programs that have been allocated already. With the sewers, the lining can be done relatively easily from above grade without disturbing the roadway.
And those linings last a long time?
It's essentially a brand-new pipe. It's a 50-plus year design life, so it's as if you put a brand-new pipe in the ground.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right. Jeff, Cecilia, did you want to add anything at this time, or?
I know Ken does.
Yep, you will.
Well, you know what, we can talk about the money, and then when we make a motion, you can talk about it then, if you want.
I guess, we've come up with a lot of different thoughts that might be these cars. We're going to actually meet with them first. I don't know if that makes sense. Sharing driveways, we've talked about would help.
Microphone Nazi.
All right, why don't you come up and identify yourself so we get you on the record, and then we'll talk a little bit about that, so.
Jeff Siciliano, 34673 Bennett. So, yeah, we've talked about sharing driveways. We've sent some emails out asking our members to think about that. So that would help. We've understood that would help the cost. And we also talked about, timing and phasing, and do we have to do it all right away? Because we're still, hopeful on James' money. We're still working our ends on that money too. Even as of this morning, we've been talking, trying to get some things moving in there. So hopefully between you guys and maybe anything we can throw out there will help us with that money. But we're thinking we could do whatever we can do to this point, and it's going to probably take all next year anyways. And then hopefully in that period of time, we can get some federal money from John James or somebody else and look for other options to finish the project maybe the year after. I don't know how long this stuff takes. I'm not a road guy, but that's kind of what's going through our heads, is that it's going to take a while to do this anyways.
It is going to take a while, and I appreciate the flexibility and the thinking out of the box on how we can do that. Because I think we all know that this.
I should have said thank you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
For finally, but it's been a long road, huh?
A long road.
Thank you guys for.
No pun intended.
Bumpy road. It's been a bumpy road, too.
And no
Yeah.
pun intended there either.
It has, but, we've worked together. This is what we're supposed to do, right? Government's supposed to work with the citizens, so.
That's the theory. And
Theory,
we
yeah.
all agree that, I think we all agree that $7 million is not going to get it done. So we have further conversation, but at least gets us a significant project. And
And we did go through and identify streets. I know they've got a way to do it. I think we talked after last meeting, and I think we were pretty close on what his, what do you call that thing, a PISA?
PISA rating.
PISA rating versus our teeth rating, I guess you'd call it, yeah.
The chatter rating?
Yeah, the chatter rating, thank you, yes.
all right, well, I think that's where we're at. So we need to come up with a commitment by the council on behalf of the city on how much we're willing to invest in that. So that's our next discussion. And then after that, we talk about timeline and.
Next steps, so.
Yeah, next steps. And one of the things that I thought, I started thinking more about this, if let's say we do $7, $8 million. Do we want to do, would that be a 2-year project in your professional opinion? What would be the practical timing of something like that, Mr. Bignor?
Yeah, I think depending on how aggressive you want to get, you could probably do that in a year, especially if it was 2 of the larger segments that, if you were going to take Malin, for instance, it's the biggest roadway, the most money, it would eat up at least half of that just on one street. And you could pick another street off of that or 2, depending on where they were at, and certainly do that all in 1 year. If you were going to pick a couple of the other roads, you may want to look at 2 years. Again, it's going to depend on how much impact we want to have on, or the businesses will accept as part of this process. We're going to be looking at one-way traffic, and if you're affecting too many roads, it's going to affect trucking and distribution and employees getting in and out. We'd have to take a look at that. I still think probably 2 years for that range.
Practical. Being practical and reasonable. Realistic.
Right. We like the typical construction season. We don't like to push things late into the year. If you start making the project too big, you run into other issues as you get into November for road construction.
City manager.
I talked to Mike about this earlier this week, and one of the things that we were kind of looking at is a schedule. What if we were working at a very aggressive schedule and wanted to get things moving? Would we be able to realistically get this project started and a portion of it done next year? We do feel that that's possible, but things certainly would have to move very quickly for that. Just to kind of give you an idea, at our October meeting, we would be looking to approve engineering and bid documents, and if we did an SAD, a first reading of an SAD. A November meeting would be a second reading of an SAD. Through the winter, they would be working on the documents, and then bids would be due in February, and they would approve a contract in March, and we would move forward with it in April. So that obviously is a very aggressive schedule.
That's if we went and moved forward with talking more about an SAD and completing the whole project.
Correct.
Okay, so, and that is very aggressive, I think.
Yes.
So, I can turn off your light now. So tonight, we can say you'll have a starting point, I think. Hopefully, we can agree on something. And then And then immediately, like next week, we need to start talking. I think you're gone next week? Oh, I'm sorry. But we need to get that discussion going fairly soon on where we go. Now, what's the rest of it look like? So is that what you're thinking too?
Yeah, I mean, would it make sense, I mean, obviously you have to talk about the money and get that settled, but would it make sense for us to kind of talk with Mike first?
No, I think everything needs to go through the city manager and Mr. Barrett and Mr. Gregory, so that we have a single point of contact on the city side for those kind of discussions, because we pay him, he earns his money, but everything we do comes out of the city coffers. We want to have city manager directing
So
that.
would you foresee, I know subcommittee is a bad word, I think, but would you consider, how would we meet? How would we meet?
That was very, I think that's what we'll have to discuss very
Okay.
soon here, and within 2 weeks. How's that? We would be having some kind of plan forward to get to the next step.
Okay, and we would like to be involved a little bit of that, right? So we'll be involved, not the money part, but
Absolutely, yes.
but planning the roads, if we could have some input at least to discuss
Yes,
it,
the
right?
council, the engineer and the DPW will make the recommendations, and finance will tell us we can afford it or we can't afford it, or,
Okay.
and then the council makes the decision to do that, but certainly input's important, and I've said that from the beginning, is that the way everybody gets to the best place we can be is if we're all working together, working in the same direction. So,
By the way, just on record, Ken is a little under the weather today. That's why he's not up here.
hello, Mr. Hamlet.
But he still matches, and that's what's important.
All right, let's, thank you, Mr. Elmer, for being here, too. Council, any thoughts? Anybody wanna throw a number out?
I still want to stick with 4.
Okay.
From the general fund, correct?
Okay, Councilmember Odell?
Yeah, I mean, with a healthy fund balance and roughly 7.4 million available after the fund balance and money that's already accounted for projects coming down the pipe, I'm comfortable with $3 to $4 million. I'm comfortable in that range.
Councilmember Perry?
If we're getting 4 million from the state, I would take advantage of this. I think the whole area needs to be redone. It's really bad. I've driven through it multiple times. And looking at this paperwork, the interest rates on bonds don't seem that crazy. Why wouldn't we just do it all in one shot? Or if we can, logistically, just to get it done, then we're not taking all the money from the general fund. I don't want to use up all the money in the general fund. Probably wouldn't feel comfortable throwing $4 million from it if we only have a surplus of 7.
What I was thinking is, and this is my thought, if we committed 3 million, and then, so we have got a $7 million kind of budget, and you come back at 7.3. I'd rather do that, and I think I told you this before, if I give you an $8 million budget, you're going to come back with 8.5. I know how this works. It's just because there's inflation and cost creep, and so if we did something like 7, and then you came back and said, okay, we can do this, this, and this, but this is going to, if we get to this point, it's going to cost a little more. We can make that decision. To your bond discussion, they did try to do that last year, and that didn't go so well. I think the $4 million from the state and putting in some of our own money, then we can sit down and have that discussion. How do we get to the rest? I'm on board with having that discussion as soon as possible, so that we know whether this is it, or it's going to take 20 years to do the rest. That's my position. Any thoughts from you folks?
Yep, so I'm close to the ballpark you were in, but I was going to say 3.5. I just don't think that we need quite that much wiggle room, and I want to be able to get as much of it done as possible.
I'm good with 3.5. 3.5 or 4, I think we need to stick with those.
3.5, are we
I can
any
compromise.
consensus on that? And if,
In the meantime, if we start the the bond process to see how much it would cost the industrial park to finish the whole thing, at least to get the numbers, so they can make a much better decision. We might get word on federal money, so we might not need to borrow as much, given that time frame. But that part takes time. Going the last time we attempted this, it was just too big for the industrial park to take at once. They couldn't afford to do that all at once. A lot of them were afraid they were going to go out of business and things like that. So now that we're coming with a little less than half that from the numbers we originally talked, and if we get some federal money, don't know if we will or not, we can't count on that, but let's look at what it looks like paying off the rest, and then if we get more, we can adjust those numbers and get it done if they're up to get it done. But I'm sure they want the whole thing redone as well. It's just, we don't have an endless pot of money to do it, but we've got a lot more than we did a year ago. So I think we should go in with the goal that we want to get the whole thing done at least over a couple years. I think the 3.5 is a good compromise to start with, and because we might have to adjust those numbers depending on what comes back from.
You can always come in lower.
That is our hope. I mean, we hope that we were high on our $16 million budget that we presented earlier.
Good. All right, how would we best proceed, Mr. Denault?
Mayor?
Hold on, I want to ask him a question. In order to commit this money, are we making a promise? Are we making in good faith, this is, how do we
Wouldn't it be
do
an
this?
allocation to put into a capital?
Well, hold on, I just want to, because we did this before, we did a capital fund, and then the state said you can't do that because you're not bonding money. So we had to move that money back, and that's part of the money that's in this 12.5. So I just want to know how we do this so that,
My opinion, in just playing catch-up a little bit as I listen and observe and read, would be that you're not allocating money, you're not budgeting money. What you are doing is reaching a consensus of council to move forward, to direct administration to move forward in creating a plan in coordination with the industrial park owners, knowing that that's the amount of money that the city council would like the city administration to work with. And then from there, once those discussions bear some fruit, administration reports back to all of you, and you decide if the number still works, right, based on those conversations.
that's what I was thinking, but I wanted to make sure that we were, so this would be a consensus, and then give direction, and then they come back with a more solid proposal.
Right. And I think it's important to remember, too, we're talking about bonds. Bonding is not the same as special assessment, right? The bonding is the city's debt. So, I think those kinds of considerations need to be part of the next phase. So let's say tonight council supports 3.5 or 4, or whatever the number is. That gives the administration the ability to meet with these folks and talk about, okay, here's what's left of what needs to be spent. How do we do that? And when do we do that? And do we do it in pieces? Do we do it all at once? It's a 10-year commitment, right? If either from them or from us or split, there's a way to do it where they don't pay the whole 10 years. Maybe it's split half and half. There's a lot of different avenues this could go.
And that's, I feel the same way, is that that's the next conversation. Once we get this and we send AEW and DPW off on a project, so you can do your work, and then we can have the rest of those conversations. And then when you get that kind of a plan, then you have an idea what the rest of the project looks like. 'Cause that's, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but that's how I kind of saw the process.
Yeah, I think if a, future special assessment district is being considered to do, we'll say the remainder, if part of the roads are done and then we special assess, you can only special assess somebody that gets a direct frontage benefit from that project. So you would be limited to just special assessing properties on the roads that are getting reconstructed at that point. If you're going to consider a district-wide special assessment, it has to be rolled into whatever project so that all the money is part of that at that time.
Yep. And so, and we haven't committed, as you said, we haven't committed any money. We're in the planning stages, an accelerated planning stage, so.
Would pledging be a good word?
Do you remember last month when we supported the Fraser First proposal? That's how I see this, right? We're saying we support it, but we're not allocating because we don't have a plan yet. We have nothing to allocate toward, right?
Anyone want to make a motion?
You wanted to say something?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just want to say one thing. Did I get the impression that you guys assessed some things and some things that were in the original proposal would possibly not be necessary now? Did I misunderstand?
No, I still feel that they are necessary. I think if there was less money than the entire project and we wanted to address certain areas, that would have to look, I mean, it would just have to be a little bit more thoughtful about some of those areas. I still think it's the right thing to just do it all at this time.
Yeah, I heard you say something about storm sewers or something.
No, the storm sewers are under the street, so they'd be replaced at that time. So
What must have been a water mains.
that's on the site. Councilmember Odell.
Don, I got a question. So prior council approved a special assessment district, but we never went forward with it, correct?
Correct.
So if we get these numbers back and, you know, instead of doing half the roads and then looking at a special assessment for the rest, which wouldn't really be fair to the whole industrial park, I'm just, what I'm saying is, if we get the numbers back and say if we do because we've got everything done for the special assessment district already, correct? So we can plug in, okay, if we need $9 million more to finish it out, what's that look like for there? So if we make the decision to do the whole thing at once, so it's evenly spread out, do we have to redo the SAD, or is the one that was approved before still in place?
No, we'd have to redo it. We're looking at different numbers. We're looking at different logistics, I think. I think probably most of the work that Mike has done is still applicable, but now we're looking at, maybe a different estimate, different project scope. And really, for me, it's, to your point, if it works out that the next step involves an agreement in principle that they will absorb, the industrial park will absorb some of this cost, then it's just a matter of how much can they afford over 10 years, figure out what that bonding amount is, figure out how that works with what the city's going to contribute and the federal money we're going to have in place, and then what's left, right? Because maybe the city council gets comfortable with knowing there's going to be some debt to be repaid over 10 years on the city side too, but maybe it's not, $10 million or $8 million, right? So I think there's just a lot of little pathways that have to be explored to see where everybody's comfort level is.
Yep, I agree. So I guess I'll make the motion to, what was the word you used? To support a consensus of the council to, for $3.5 million of general fund money for part of the Industrial Park Road reconstruction project.
Second.
Included in that, Mr. Mayor, would be to authorize city administration to move forward with working with the industrial park owners for the next steps, correct? In the planning.
And to direct the city manager to work with the industrial park owners to work on the next steps of the project, as well as authorize engineering costs for this plan.
Second again.
Second.
Okay. Any member of the audience would like to speak on this? Any member of council? You're good, Ken?
I don't know if I want to allocate $3.5 million for it from our general fund. That's the only point that I'm having a problem with. So if I go with this vote, it's not binding. We're not 100% on that figure yet. Okay.
We can come back and find
Okay.
which bucket. And I'm sorry I said general fund. I should have just said $3.5 million of.
Funding.
Should I
Money.
withdraw it, or can I just?
Just $3.5 million of funding, but it's just, again, it's just a
Funding.
support. So to Mr. Perry's question, if you were to vote in favor tonight, you are not binding yourself to a plan that ultimately looks doomed to fail. I mean, if it comes back that you can't support 3.5 because the plan isn't going to work, you all reserve that right to do something differently. But the point of this is to give the city administration a starting point to work with in the
Yep.
planning process.
Does that satisfy?
Yep.
your questions? Councilmember Stein.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Cornack? Thank you for starting this conversation. Councilmember Odell? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You guys have a starting point. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Great. We don't often get clapping, so unless we're adjourning.
You get a lot of clapping.
When the roads are done, then you
All right, hold on, I got to find my, my agenda. I stuck it in here somewhere. All right, report of city administration, item number 9. There.
Coming up this Saturday at 8 p.m. in Steffens Park, we are showing the movie How to Train Your Dragon. We're going to have popcorn, cotton candy, face painting, and it looks so far like favorable weather. I would like to thank August for getting us a grant for some new election equipment. The drop box, as you may or may not know, has had some issues that it leaks. I know this was something that was a previous grant from the state. He was able to get us $17,000, so we're going to be getting some new boxes. Above and beyond, above and beyond that, though, is that we are going to be relocating it. We're going to be making some changes to the configuration at the front so that people will be able to drop it off and not have to drive as far through the public safety parking area. So it's going to be a benefit to everyone. So thank you very much for that. And then one other thing that I wanted to mention, I had sent out some information to everyone regarding the utility rate study that the gentleman from Municipal Analytics that's working on it is not available for our October 10th meeting. I was looking for a special meeting. Looks like the majority of people can make September 26th at 6:30. So I don't necessarily know if I can get a motion or just verbal support to move forward with setting that special meeting.
I'm good with it.
I think you emailed the dates, right? Was it?
September 26th, which is 2 Thursdays away, and then October 3rd was 3
I
Thursdays.
said I'm not available October 3rd. But
I'm not either.
okay.
So we're good with setting that special meeting?
Okay.
Great. He will be here with a presentation. He's going to have a draft report out to me as soon as possible. As soon as I get that, I will make sure that everyone gets it so they have ample time to be able to review that.
And we'll post that to the
Yep, with the packet.
special amendment or special
Meeting. Yep.
agenda packet. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's see, what's next? This would be the report of mayor and city council. Councilmember Stein.
I have nothing tonight.
Okay, Councilmember Perry.
Yeah, I have a question about FOIAs. Can you explain what VC3 is doing concerning FOIA requests? I was contacted by a resident, and I spoke to Elaine in August about this, and they were just shocked with the price, and the breakdown was pretty substantial with VC3. So I was just curious, because I've pulled FOIAs before, and I don't remember them being involved.
I guess I can generally speak at it, and if you can fill in any gaps, that'd be great. So whenever there is any type of FOIA that involves specific searches for emails, documentation, anything like that, VC3 does that through the server, so that way it takes away any of the potential for anyone else to try to, I don't know, sort or, I don't really know how to
Basically, no one
explain
here
it.
has access to everybody's everything. But
Okay.
VC3. And it's
Okay.
set up that way for a reason. So we have to use them to go in and pull it. So the estimates given are hourly. They
Okay.
can be lower, higher, but we have to put it out there to be fair, that this is what it could cost.
Yep.
If you're going to pull something through VC3. In other cities, they have different systems. Sometimes they have a local person on staff that they entrust with that. We don't have that here. We use, everything's on VC3.
Okay.
Their cost is what we have to deal with.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, I'm sorry, that is it.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
So just two things. One, recently, it was about 3 weeks ago in my subdivision, there was some cars that were ransacked and 2 cars that were stolen, one of which was mine. And I just wanted to say that public safety did an absolutely amazing job and were very professional responding to the situation. There's been increased presence. And my car, as well as the other car in my neighborhood, were both recovered. And there have just been other situations that have occurred recently, and I just cannot say enough good things about our public safety department and just really appreciate the work that you do for our city. Sometimes it can be easy to forget until it hits literally close to home. So I just wanted to make sure that I thank you, Director Kretschmer, and all of your PSOs for the work that you do for us. The other thing, on a little bit more fun note, the first Fraser High School home football game will be Friday, September 20th at 7 PM. So come out and support the Ramblers and enjoy the marching band halftime show.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Shornack?
That's fine. Okay, so several announcements. Well, actually, a couple questions really quick. So August, this is for you. For the Historical Commission, when they have to send their minutes or stuff they need for their meetings, are they supposed to be sending it to you or Cindy? Because we need to know. Or both to cover the bases?
Both to cover the bases.
Okay, that's number
And
one.
that's what I've been getting, sort of both.
Okay, well, because they just don't want anybody to get angry, so they're asking, so that's that.
I won't be heartbroken.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, that being said, because of the construction right now on Kelly, this one's for you, Rob. Where should they be putting like their lawn bags for when they're cleaning up the gardens and stuff? I told them to put them on Masonic for right now. Do you think that they would pick them up on Masonic or is something in particular?
Good evening again. We're putting the trash out and recycling on Masonic. I wouldn't care to do it on the fly, but I'm sure Masonic would work, but we'd probably talk to Priority and look at the situation, and we can report back to you through the city manager and give a recommendation to the Historical Commission where to put it.
Okay, yeah, because it's usually the yard waste. They don't really have anything else, and they get a lot of bags, and especially going into fall. I know that it's anticipated to be done by the end of the month, which will be great, because a lot of people will be happy, because that is really a messed up configuration. I don't know what that was about, but anyway. But yeah, so they were asking, because they have a bunch of yard bags, and they're like, where are we supposed to put these? We can't obviously put them on Kelly, because they're where they normally put them, because you can't drive there. So I said I would ask. So that was my question, my other question for that.
Could DPW maybe temporarily pick those up and take them back to the
I suspect that Masonic is going to be a really good option, but we're just going to have to meet with the supervisor for Priority and look at it.
And it's just temporarily, obviously, yeah, until Kelly's open again.
Right.
So, okay, yeah, if you guys could find that out, that would be great, because they did ask that. But I'll talk to you about something else after that, too, but,
Don't leave. Rob.
no, you can, oh,
No, don't leave.
there's more questions.
I got a
Mike-
question for you.
Mike's got a question for you.
I didn't want you to walk too far.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, so the museum, they were supposed to have a open house and sale this month, but of course, the construction and everything, you can't get into the parking lot, and it's a big, hot mess. So they are going to be having a flea market, but just them, or barn sales, they like to call it, on the 6th of October from 9 to 4. They will also be having an open house. The JFK, the Knights of Columbus, on Kelly, between 14 and Grossbeck, is going to be having a fish fry. I'll get you the flyer if we can put it on our roly-poly, on the 27th of September. And they are having their, what is equivalent to their farmer's market, but I think it's more of like a, well, we'll just call it a farmer's market. Anyway, this Saturday from 9 to 3, also at the KFC Hall. And then there will be a fundraiser on the 26th at Ramshorn for St. Vincent de Paul, for anybody who likes to do charity stuff and all that. St. Vincent de Paul, I think, is a great charity, so. But now we have a meeting, so I guess I'll be here instead of there. So if anybody wants to go there, and I think, and I'm not sure because they didn't send me the notice I normally get, but I believe that the fourth Wednesday is still a spaghetti dinner at the VFW as well. So, and they do have really good spaghetti, so I'll totally go there.
That's it.
No, I'm set. Thanks.
Councilmember Odell.
I will ditto that. I usually have spaghetti dinner every month, and they do a great job over there. The priority waste, are those problems, with delayed pickup and things like that, because I know Clinton Township had a bad issue. I know sometimes my trash is out there for an extra day or, I just want to also make sure, residents are getting hit by code enforcement and things for some that our services are lacking. Do we?
So, if I may address that, I think Priority is gone through their growing pains. They have their trucks all functioning now. I think our residents are getting used to the different times they are working later at night, and sometimes they're thinking that the routes have been missed or whatever, but they do show up. We have a portal open, and since they've been here, we've had 70 complaints. I say only 70, and most 40 of them were within the first month there. I had considered bringing them here to this council meeting, but I think they do have their hands full. I know we're solely interested in Fraser, but our surrounding communities are being served a lot worse, and I'd like to thank our past supervisor, can't remember his name now. But he's hired as a driver for Priority, and he's taking the lead and sharing his cell number and making sure things get done for our residents.
Great, thank you.
If it's council's desire, I can further consider and have a representative from Priority come to a council meeting and provide a further update on how things are going with it.
That's why I wanted you to stay. I was going to bring that up, but I don't think we need them here yet. You make the determination of, but I've had a couple of reports from people that, they garbage on the streets or they miss the house, things like that. But we'll go through the city manager if we have more questions like that. So, thank you, Rob.
Very good.
All right, you all done?
I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. All right, a couple things. I'll try not to pontificate too much. Or prattle.
Prattle.
Number one thing I'd like to say is thank you, council, for coming up with some road funding commitment or consensus. I think it's a long time coming, and this is a good start, and we can now have a constructive conversation on how we get the rest done. So I want to say thank you to that. I went to the East Point Roseville Chamber Coffee Hour at Sarisa the other day, had a nice meeting there. We got a tour of the dispatch facility, and it's pretty interesting. So Roseville did a great job of supporting that and sponsoring and hosting that. Went to the Macomb Partners meeting, which is held by Macomb County Planning and Economic Development. They do a quarterly meeting with their local partners, Care House, Care Southeastern Michigan, those kind of organizations. And so I attended that, had a nice lunch again in Roseville at the Roseville Theater. And then East Point Roseville Chamber has Deck the Halls event on November 7th. That will be at the Vintage House this year. And we, as part of the East Point Roseville Chamber, we raise funds to donate back to the community. We're a unique chamber in that we spend a lot of money. We raise money by poker nights and this event, and then we turn that money directly back into the communities we serve. So that will be on November 7th. They did plan this to be on a non-council night. Usually it's the second Thursday of November. So if you can make that, it's a great event, and it will be right here in our city for the foreseeable future, it appears. I guess that's it. Thank you very much for everything, and with that, we will now turn the conversation to the citizens. Anyone here would like to speak on any matter whatsoever? Come on up. Please give us your name.
Good evening. My name is Mark Richter. I live at 16330 Gordon. And I can tell the stories. I remember back in 24, we survived the Dust Bowl of 24. It's been quite an adventure. And I when I first heard it, I'm going, oh boy, there goes the whole summer. Oh, they'll do it all, they'll do it all. I go, no, you don't understand. I know this kind of stuff. This is going to be big. And as time went on, people were going, when are they doing this? What's going on with that? And I was shooting, I probably have 50 to 100 hours of video on Gordon, Aaron, Admiral, all these streets. All these streets have different layouts, the way the pipes are done. So I tried to cover all the streets, hundreds of photographs, and people would say, what's going on here? I said, go look on this street. They're ahead of us. That's what we're going to do there. I saw this, And yesterday, I get a timid knock on my door. One of my neighbors says, hey, we're going to go down to DPW, get some answers. And I said, okay, let me get some coffee. I'll come with you. You got the pitchforks? Yeah, I'll bring the torches, okay? So we go down 11 o'clock. They're out to lunch. Okay, we come back at 2 o'clock. And the thing is, none of my neighbors ever speak to each other. We just, do this thing. And suddenly, it wasn't the city. It wasn't the guys working the road. We were battling these potholes. And we didn't know what was going on. And so we united. It was like our 9/11, but here in Fraser. So we went down there, and they took it seriously, the DPW, and they said, we're going to put your name, phone number, we'll call you. Okay, this was yesterday morning at 10:30 when this started. Okay, within an hour, they said, Mark, we're going to come by at 9 o'clock, good? Yeah, sure, okay. They were there early. And boom, they talked to everybody in the street. And the engineers guys were there. And it's like, can you do this? Can you do that? They explained, why we could, why we couldn't. And it's like, sure, we'll do that for you. I was so happy. My neighbors were happy too, because it's like, that's easier, that's better. If you want to do that, we want to make you happy. And these guys know me because they see me riding on the bike, shooting video. You know what? If people give you any crap, let me know, because I have the pictures, I have the video. We can make sure that, things were what we remember them as being. And I'm hopefully going to put this thing together because I couldn't find any information. You can find out stuff, pipe explode, or you can find little snippets here and there, but nobody documents the entire project. And the city has nothing on it. So I'm hoping to get this thing edited together. And so next year, when I get to live through it again, when Kingston's dust comes blowing across at me, and everybody else, it's like, oh, here's it is. So that's what that looked like. This is what happened. This is how long this took. And you can say, my street's like this, so I'm going to follow this playlist here on YouTube. And now it'll make it so much easier. And I encourage people, now I'm speaking, here's the thing. They said, let's go to the city council meeting. This was yesterday. Today, after we spoke this morning, everybody's like, we're not going. I said, well, I'm going to go. Because I wanted to say thank you to the DPW for taking this seriously and coming out there and everybody who worked on this thing. And people feel much better now. And then we have a sense of community now. And I encourage other people who I've kind of talked to here and there on Admiral and the other streets, get your street together, get your questions figured out, and ask the DPW. And things will go much smoother, and it'll be a lot less complaints, and people understand what's going on. And I also would like to say, I got the pleasure of meeting Mackenzie at the Historical Society meeting last month, and I look forward to maybe doing some projects with her, some history projects, and she's going to be a great asset to that group. And some sad news, Dairy Maid is closing on the 15th. Get down there, stock up on upside down banana splits, stuff them in your freezer, and get out. Talk to your neighbors, get out there, and go out to the movie. I told my neighbor, she says, oh, yeah? Yeah, okay, let me know, remind me. Yeah, I want to go take my grandkids to that. So thank you, DPW, and these guys work hard, and they do care about doing the best job they can. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments about our DPW. We hired Mr. Barrett for a reason, and he's met every challenge so far. Now you got to meet every challenge from here on out, by the way. But thank you, and I agree with the Dairy Maid. You got to get over there and get a upside-down banana split before September 16th. All right, anybody else in the audience like to speak? Okay, I think we're all done with citizen participation. Now we have a closed session, item 12A, closed session to consider an attorney-client privilege communication exempt from disclosure. I would like to make a motion to go into closed session to consider an attorney-client privilege communication exempt from disclosure.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lessig, second by Sutherland. Roll call vote, please. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And we go into closed session at 8:09.
Well, can we use the restroom really quick?
Real quick, yes.
Go home and Hey, Rob.
closed session at 8:34 PM. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Sutherland, or Councilmember Shornack, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sutherland to adjourn at 8:34 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.